Hey, Jake, can you hear me? You can hear me.
You there?
I'm here. Are you?
Yeah. what a shit show.
I just saw you sitting there waiting in that loud music.
Yeah, we're trying the video. Is my video still there?
It just went away.
Oh, it's because gosh, I
How do I
have
get my
notes on
video
my
on?
I have notes on my phone, dude. So I would. Can you give me 5 minutes so I can upload my notes to my laptop?
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, okay. Let me get my let me get my iPhone cord so I can upload that. Actually, I should just be able to do it this way. Just send it to my Mac. Got
Do
a
you want
lot
me
of.
to?
This is gonna be a meaty podcast, bro.
It is. It is.
This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be great. I wish we could get the YouTube shit, but with my lap current setup, I don't know if it can. It just can't handle everything. Okay.
Jay, I was trying to get the boys back in town for Chattanooga, and T Ray's just. I love T Ray, but he's such a flake.
Did you send him an invite to the wedding?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like when we talk, it'll be like a month until I get the next text message or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's how it goes. Hold up. Why is this shit not sending? God dang, come on. Just send to my fucking laptop.
Ooh,
There it is. There it is.
I heard it.
There it is, baby. All right. So, find your inner pirate, Drew. Here we go.
Let's go. Hey, how do I get my camera on here?
I'm not sure, man. It just has an option when I create the space to enable video.
I'll figure that out one of these days. Anyway,
And we'll get on the YouTube live. It might have to be when I get my own place and I get a real desktop laptop that can handle everything. Cause dude, I had everything set up. It was gonna be me and you on the screen, and then I had some like pro football focus salary cap page pulled up for all the teams, and we were just gonna go through it, but it'll be all right.
yeah, we'll
How's
get it
your
figured out. Space
yeah.
is undefeated.
It is and I guess the audio got taken down in our last one for whatever reason, but it
Hmm.
should be fine. That shit's never happened before, so
Big tech
oh
coming after me again.
yeah, I don't get it. And there is an option to record the audio, so hopefully it'll like save to my phone or something, but that'll make it easier to put out as a podcast and all that jazz. But yeah, man, how's the week going?
Week has been absolutely beautiful here. Um, Windows open, cats jumping in and out of that thing.
Raymond just running the street.
Yes. And it was funny seeing Tim Dillon F around with those young YouTubers and just talking fast food with them.
That was electric, bro. I sat down and had my Indian food and watched that for a good 20 minutes, man. Just finding my inner pirate out there, you know.
Yeah. And I really, it's been kind of interesting the Chiefs fan response to what has been happening, who's been getting re-signed on the Chiefs team.
Uh huh.
I'm a fan of what's going on, and I feel like I'm the one minority in the whole community that's like, hey, paying a young Trey Smith, who's an absolute monster, and paying Nick Bolton, who has been the brains of the organization. I mean, they in some ways they call him
Mm-hmm.
the Mahomes of the defense. I don't know how true
Yep.
that is,
Middle linebacker.
but I like the moves. And Xavier Worthy, I guess he's innocent.
Yeah, that was a bad deal that came out yesterday, but it looks like the charges were dropped, and you know, Xavier Worthy, I think he's a good kid. He's a Texas kid. He never had any issues at Texas, so. But yeah, that was shocking that that came down. But it's good that it looks like it's going to be a non. I mean, with these athletes, man, I always take a wait and see approach because they make so much money and there's people trying to fuck with them a lot of the
Yeah.
time. And so you get stories. That's kind of what I thought the Deshaun Watson thing was at first because he was such a good kid at Clemson, never got in any trouble, but that ended up being bad. So it can go both ways, you know.
That ended up horribly for him.
I was in Vegas when that news broke. I was at me and Deshulo's falling out. I was at a I was at the what's that pirate bar called there? Fucking uh, God, I can't think of it. But there's a pirate themed bar in Vegas, and you know me, I was just finding my inner pirate and talking to these old dudes at the bar, like who do we like tonight in the NCAA games, and then the Deshaun Watson thing broke, and I was like, what the fuck? It's just ridiculous, man. There's been some crazy stories, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, there has been a lot. It's yeah, people in this case it was Xavier Worthy's wife sounds like who couldn't handle the newfound money and fame. Um Kind
Hmm.
of a crazy move to go cheat on your NFL husband and then clearly falsely accuse him of something that gets him arrested because if it was declined like that, it was clearly such a nothing that they were like, no.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
seems like she's the one who really can't handle the fame right now. And but that's the thing. It's been such a busy week for the Chiefs. That all of the
it has.
re-signings, you know, uh, three guys there: Trey Smith, Nick Bolton, Hollywood Brown.
Oh, Hollywood's
Hollywood's
back. I didn't
back.
see that.
Hollywood came back in the midst of
Good,
all that Xavier Worthy stuff. So
good. I'm excited to see him get a full year, hopefully
me
healthy
too.
in Kansas
We've
City.
got some good draft picks. We didn't get rid of any of our top hundreds, and we added one from the Legarius Sneed trade. That's a
Hell
top of
yeah.
the third round pick there.
Yep, that's a big one. That's a big one for y'all. Yeah, and then we've seen some guys get breaded the fuck up, Drew. I mean, we got Miles Garrett
Yeah.
today. Looks like he's not going anywhere. Just getting absolutely paid. I think it was like 40 million a
Yep.
year or something.
Crazy.
Just almost pretty much quarterback money, you know, and he's worth it. I really, if they would have traded him, man, there's no telling how much they could have got for him. Maybe three first rounders,
Mm,
at least two first rounders, I'd
yeah.
say. So he's staying in Cleveland. You got Ronnie Stanley signing a big deal at the Ravens. I know his name was kind of out there with some trade rumors. And my Raiders, baby,
Hmm.
signing Crosby, getting him back on a mega
And
deal.
adding a
So
QB.
yeah, and Geno Smith, man, there's been a ton of moves um this past week or
The
so. Guys
the
getting
fallout
cut.
of that,
Von Miller.
the fallout of
Uh huh.
Gino is an incredible domino there. in that
Uh-huh.
quarterback market. It kind of clears a lot of things up, I think.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into some of these free agent quarterbacks in a sec. And yeah, there's a lot of musical chairs being played with the quarterback position. So Geno Smith was a big domino to fall for sure. And so yeah, a lot of action. Von Miller got cut today by the Bills. You see the Eagles, they're just so cutthroat. They big play Slay, he's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he just That's the beautiful thing about the NFL, man. It just these studs will get cut. Debo Samuel will get traded on the middle of the night. It's beautiful for us, man, as a football podcast. I mean, we're always gonna have shit to talk about.
And I guess if this is okay with you, I mean, sort of the first thing on the agenda is the big thing that decides all of this stuff is where your team is at with salary cap. And
Uh huh.
I've this has kind of been a new thing that I've noticed. I mean, this may be obvious to some, but it's been kind of a revelation for me this off season. I think what you find in moments like this where a lot is happening in one week, I think the great teams what they do is they avoid giving out a bad contract rather than chasing to add some new star. Like,
Uh
really,
huh.
I never see a great team go out and make a big splash in free agency. And what makes a great team great, what makes them sustain everything is having a whole list of good contracts on their team. They're not having to,
Mhm.
you know, cut burn $20 million in the air because they gave a bad contract to a wide receiver. They're not having to,
Oh yeah.
and I think that's what you find at this time of year is just teams that are managing their salary cap well and
Uh huh.
trying to make sure that they don't sign a bad contract. And then you find
The
others that are
Eagles
out there chasing stuff. Yeah, yeah. Eagles continue to do good stuff.
and the Cowboys are just. They said they're selectively aggressive at free agency. I mean, they don't play the salary cap game right. They never have. They Jerry Jones does not structure. I mean, with these owners, man, it's a big deal because a lot of them will load up signing bonus money on these contracts, which gives you more flexibility with the salary cap. And does Jerry Jones ever do that? Fuck no.
I mean,
I mean, there's smart owners and there's dumb owners,
I'll
and
tell you this,
the
Jay.
way to sell, yeah, go ahead.
For on the Cowboys and kind of exactly what I was just saying there of avoiding bad contracts. They've made some of the worst decisions there in recent years. The wide receivers that they paid. Do you go back to Michael Gallup and did they have no Gallup
Cooks,
Cooks? They had a bunch of money tied up in those guys and then and
uh,
then they went and they paid Zeke Elliott top money, kind of at the peak of the market there. And after that contract, running back contracts started to dip big time. And then
uh-huh,
what they've been doing recently is just sort of kicking the can down as far as they possibly can until the player has a lot of leverage and really
uh-huh.
making them, pay in the end. It's all right if you do that and then you just screw the player over and you just say you're not going to get your big contract. But then they
Right.
they play the whole game and then they actually cave in the end.
Yep, that's the Jerry Jones way, baby.
Sorry.
Old, old, washed up and overpaid. Gotta love it, man. But yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about the salary cap, it really starts with the owners. Who's willing to pay big money up front to these guys to be able to work the salary cap, and you just see good. Bill Belichick was a master of this over the years, and so I think let's just go ahead and get into these salary caps, Drew. Just kind of. I don't know if we'll go every team, but we definitely got to hit these teams that have a shit ton of cap space at first. Let's start with the Patriots, man. The Patriots got 119 million in cap
Wow.
space, 111.9, basically 112 million in effective cap space, bro.
Wow.
Just massive. And you got the GM saying they want to, and Mike Vrabel together. They've said they really want to just overhaul this roster.
Hmm.
So the Patriots are definitely a team to keep your eye on when free agency starts. I believe Wednesday. Um, and I'm sure we'll see some signings already get announced before then. But I'm we're gonna do some free agent predictions for kind of like the top 10 guys. I got a feel of where they're gonna go, but I think Chris Godwin is a guy the Patriots are really gonna look at.
Godwin, even DK
Just
Metcalf could be in there.
yeah, that would be a good move for them to bring DK in. I
You
think
know,
just
um, I'm a big fan of sort of the People's Insider, Slick Rick. I'm always retweeting his stuff. He's like no, he's some doghead account that actually knows NFL. He's got real sources. He's been right over
yeah.
and over, and he said at some point some wide receiver is going to take the money, and he thinks it's going to be DK. Because the
Could
Patriots,
see it.
apparently, that's what they've been doing over the past like 3 years is trying to throw money, big money at a wide receiver, and they just keep getting passed
Uh
up.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, but they've got a quarterback in place now, Drake May, man. I really think he's a franchise guy, and so I think they'll be able to attract a free agent receiver too. And yeah, the DK Metcalf thing would be huge for them. I could see that happening for
Now, why
sure.
wouldn't they have done Devontae? If you got that much money, why
Um,
not?
yeah, he's an option. I guess maybe they don't think he matches up with their timeline. Um, but I mean, Devonte Adams could still has a lot of good football left in him, I think. Um, but you're you got Mike Vrabel in there. Um,
Mm,
he had AJ Brown. And I guess that was kind of a point of contention for them, wasn't it? When they got rid of AJ Brown, that kind of set Vrabel
yeah, it
off.
did.
So I think Vrabel will be all for getting the stud receiver if they can. And Adams, there just hasn't been much buzz with him in the Patriots, I guess. Just not really, not really something they're considering. But I think Chris Godwin could be a guy for them.
Yeah.
Another team, Drew, the Commanders. Now they already went out and got Debo Samuel in a trade last week. But I think they could go after an edge rusher or two, one of the big boys like Khalil Mack or Josh Sweat. They've got a ton of salary cap. They got about 68 million in effective cap
Wow.
space.
68 million. Another one, keep your eye out on Charles Omenihu
Uh
from the
huh.
Chiefs. He was good. I mean, he's been good.
He was.
He did tear his
He's
ACL.
had a sneaky long. He's had a sneaky long
Hmm.
career.
He's one of these guys that plays inside and outside. And same with Tershawn
Uh huh.
Wharton, who's another free agency. Someone, both of those guys are going to get paid. Both of those D linemen.
Mm-hmm. And they'll probably be out of the Chiefs' price range.
I
You
think
think?
so. Um, I think
Yeah.
I've heard they're actually both going to get pretty decent money at that.
Yeah, if that versatility playing inside and outside, teams are going to come calling for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, we got the Commanders and Pats. Those are really you got the Raiders up there too. They have the second most effective cap space, about 85.7
Wow.
million. They just went out and did the Geno Smith trade. So it looks like they got the quarterback set. I really think they need to still draft a young quarterback, maybe later rounds, but it looks like Pete Carroll's come in, man, and he's an older guy. He wants to win, so I'm not surprised that they went out and made that move for Gino.
I mean, you don't think they can still go after Shador, do you?
They should, if there's, I mean, they should go after him, but will they will they give up the resources to move up? Oh, but at the same time, they may not have to move up for Sanders, I guess.
Yeah,
There's just not a lot of buzz with the quarterbacks. But where are they picking? Like
I think
sixth in
so.
the draft
They're
still?
up there.
So, I mean, yeah, if I was them, I would still take Sanders, and I would do this Geno Smith thing for a year, maybe just a year, maybe not even the full year. But the thing with Sanders is, man, I think he's pretty polished. I think he's ready to play. So
Look, uh,
yeah, go ahead.
honestly, after even saying that, they really only have on their team, Brock Bowers, he's really good. Max Crosby, he's really good. They got a quarterback, and they really have no one else. I, I mean,
Hmm.
their run game last year was awful. Their
Yeah.
defense, their defense, not good. They have a lot of stuff that I don't think you can just even think about plugging Shador Sanders in there. It's it's a hellscape over there, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, they need and I don't think they will, but it's something, I think a guy like Quinn Ewers later in the
Mm.
draft, I think they could look at like a second or third round type of quarterback. I know Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss has been getting some buzz. So maybe he's like a second round guy they look at. Maybe let him develop for a year or two, but I think they're going to be aggressive at running back, Drew. You mentioned the run game was shit last year with Zamir White, pretty much. They had a little run with Sincere McCormick. Um,
Madison.
but yeah, I think they're going to look at running back and drafting where they are. It's probably too high for Genty, but we've seen Pete Carroll in the past spend first round pick on a running back. I mean,
Yeah.
he believes in the running game, and so I think they're either gonna sign a running back in free agency or draft one relatively high.
Well, they also need some offensive line help.
Oh yeah, always
Yeah.
do. Um, so yeah, another team, Drew, another AFC West team in your division that's got a lot of cap space. They just cut Joey
Oh
Bosa.
wow.
That's the Chargers.
They're back in the
They got
surplus,
about
huh?
they got about 55 million in effective cap space. That's fifth most in the league before free agency, and I think they're going to go after this guy Milton Williams, Drew, this defensive tackle on the Eagles. Had an outstanding Super Bowl performance. He's big time. I think they're going to go after him to kind of shore up that defensive line, get a war daddy in there in the inside.
Their defense was good. They were tough. Um, their running game was solid. They've got a great left tackle in there, Joe Alt.
Uh-huh.
He's a star for them. Their pass offense was atrocious last year.
It was.
It's is it does Justin Herbert stink?
I think it was just a scheme they were running, man. They were just so ground and pound oriented. It's interesting when you talk about Joe or Justin Herbert. It was a little bit of a step back last year, just but it's the hardball thing. I don't think he's ever going to be a flashy kind of fantasy style quarterback with hardball in there.
Like, do you think they could be a player for DK Metcalf, or that's just not really Harbaugh's?
Yeah, I don't know. If they could get a good deal on somebody, I don't see them maybe going for a top guy, but you never know. DK Metcalf would be really good in that offense. Just a big body receiver. Justin Jefferson had a lot of success with Mike Williams a couple years ago, another big body kind of guy. And so, yeah, I don't hate that for them go after DK, keep him out on the West Coast. I could see that.
I saw the Raiders might be interested in Tyler Lockett. I'm just remembering that now.
Another Seattle guy. That makes
Yeah,
sense with Carroll.
and
Yeah, I
Gino.
could see that, man. But yeah, there's one more team I want to hit, Drew, that I think could be pretty aggressive, and that's the team that I follow closely, being the Kyler Murray fan I am, the
Mm.
Cardinals. They got the fourth most cap space, about 68 million in effective cap space. And with them, man, they gotta beef up their pass rush. I mean, they have to address that this offseason. No players exceeded 5 sacks for them last year. That's just ridiculous. I mean, in a 17 game schedule, you can't get one guy with 6 sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I mean, they gotta get the pass rush going. Could Hassan Reddick could he come back to Arizona?
Hmm.
That's kind of a guy I'm looking at, and I think they're going to be aggressive also in the secondary. Drew, they gotta. I know they got Buda Baker out there, but that's about it they got in the secondary. They need some more cover
So
guys.
based on what you told me here, Cardinals have 68 million, Commanders have 68 million, and both of them could be trying to bid up defensive linemen.
Yep, yep, I think so.
Interesting.
And yeah, I think there could be some bidding wars going on for sure.
That's really,
Uh,
Jay, that's not a bad year to be looking for defensive linemen. I feel like there's some good ones out there.
oh yeah, there's some good ones.
There's three of
And
them from the Chiefs that are going to be on starting rosters next year.
uh-huh. Yeah, and you mentioned the Omenahu and
Omenahu, Tershawn Wharton, they'll get bigger money, and then Derek Nottie, he'll get he'll get a million or so from somebody.
mhm. Yeah, I can't wait, man, to see how it plays out. Real quick, just staying in the salary cap thing, I just want to talk about these teams that are not going to be aggressive. Just real quick, there's three of them here. Start with the Saints. They're in the red, bro, for 59.5 million. I
All
mean,
for
good
what?
God.
For what?
For Derek Carr and fucking Alvin Kamara. It's just ridiculous,
And
man.
they just
They do
breaded him
have the
up.
best
I mean, they just gave a bag to Kamara.
Kamara. Yeah. And, he's a good
He is.
player, but you also got a guy. I mean, they have the best player in the league, honestly, Taysom
Hmm.
Hill. Do they still have him? Because he pretty much carries their team.
He does. Actually, I think he's expensive as shit. I think he's got a big
Yeah,
contract.
he should be. I mean, you turn on to just a random Saints game this year, and he's just doing everything for them. So maybe that's why there's such red right now. Taysom Hill is just the best player of all time.
God bless that team. I mean, that was such a tough job to walk into being the head coach down there.
Yeah. Kellen Moore, have fun with it,
Yeah,
man.
he will.
Um, yeah. So the poor people in New Orleans, man, they're not going to be doing much. They might have to cut some. Maybe Cam Jordan gets cut. I
Mm.
don't know, man. They're gonna have to get rid of some guys if they want to do anything this
Look
offseason.
at the Honey
They may
Badger.
not even. Do they even have enough money to pay their drafted
No.
players this year?
Minus 59. No. They're just going to put it on the credit card, put it back into future years.
Oh, Drew, we just got some breaking news. Speaking of Devonte
Bring it
Adams,
on.
two 2-year deal with the Rams.
Wow. Ooh.
He's a California guy. He went to Fresno State. I love that move for the
Wow.
Rams. That's kind of,
That's
I
flashy.
guess Cooper Cup. I guess he's
He's
gone.
out. Puka and Devontae Adams with Matt Stafford.
That's gonna be dynamic, bro. Holy shit.
2-year deal. They're gonna give Stafford a 2-year run. That's their window.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think so. And
Wow.
though that defense is young and upcoming, they're gonna be really good with they're gonna I love that pickup for them.
Speaking of, where's right now while you're on it, where's their cap space at? Now that they're gonna give Adams a deal, do they have even
Let's
more to
see.
spend?
It looks like they're about 3, 6, 9. They got about like the 12th most cap space. They have 35.7.
Okay. They still
So
got room to spare.
yeah, they'll still be able to add some ancillary pieces. Probably nothing big, but yeah, I love that move for the Rams. Um, one one other team, Drew, that just is just totally just cannot do anything. That's the Browns. I mean, they just paid Garrett, which they had to do, but you got Deshaun Watson, just the worst contract of all time. It's just an albatross.
What's their minus at?
38.6 mil. That's brutal. The poor people of Cleveland, man. And the other team that's not going to have much room to do much, Drew, that I wrote down, one sec, is the Niners. Now, the Niners, they actually have 38.6 mil in cap room, but they're fixing to pay Brock Purdy.
Mm,
I mean, I think they're going to pay him big bucks. And so that's going to wipe out most of that cap room because, I mean, he's been playing on such a cheap
yeah,
contract. It's really allowed them to go out and do the McCaffrey deal, sign Brandon Ayuk, but you've already seen it. They know this is coming down the pipe, and so they had to get rid of Debo, man.
man.
They don't have the money, so the Niners, I kind of think the Niners and Rams kind of going in opposite directions a little bit, you know.
They are,
I
they they should have really kind of cleaned house last year. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people were waiting for that to happen, and they tried to move Ayuk and Debo at the draft, and it just didn't get pulled off. Um, and it was obviously a
Yeah.
big regret on them. And yeah, now they're sitting here having to deal with it. Um, I'm actually excited for it. Mainly, I'm excited for another year of getting to draft George Kittle cheaper than he should be.
hmm
This all of what this means is it's George Kittle season in fantasy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good point for the fantasy angle of it for sure. I mean, George Kittle, I had him on my team last year and he was really good. I think he's the best tight end in the league. Um, Not necessarily fantasy, but I just overall I love George Kittle,
You
man.
don't think they could try and do
Big
something with McCaffrey?
I think they'll run it back with McCaffrey this year just because last year was such a lost season. They couldn't really get much trade value from him, I assume. I don't know, maybe they could. But I think with him kind of having a year off, I think that could be good for him this next year,
Yeah,
honestly.
you may be right.
Just has fresher legs this year. So I think they'll run it back. They'll try and give this group uh another shot at making it, but it doesn't look like they're gonna be able to do much free agency wise this year. Um So yeah, that's kind of the teams that we think are going to be aggressive, the teams that aren't. You got anything else on a specific team, Drew, before we kind of transition to these top free agents? I'm going to give out some predictions for where they go.
Well, I would just say I don't know how in the world the Pats are going to be able to spend 112. I mean, honestly, um,
Yeah, that's a shit ton. They'll I know they got a lot of draft capital, so they'll be able to. A lot of that will go to the draft the guys they
yeah,
draft. But no, you're right. That's they got more money than they know what to do with because they don't have many good players.
yeah.
They don't have guys that they're paying. I mean, their best players, Christian Gonzalez on defense, and then other than that, I don't know who else is going to be making big money on that team. They got a lot of holes to fill.
Give me Joey Bosa to the Cardinals
I'd like that.
and DK
I'd like
DK
that.
Metcalf to the Pats. Those are my two predictions there.
Hmm. Yeah, the Pats one with DK would be really cool. Um, so yeah, with these signings, Drew, I always am so interested in these intra division signings. I think you play your division teams twice a year. These front offices, these coaching staffs are so familiar with um players within their division. You'll see this every year, man. That's so interesting to me. These guys, those a lot of them stay in the same
Yeah,
division. It's kind of a weird thing. It's just like I was saying, they're just familiar with these guys, so you see that a lot. Um,
and I think that's where it gets personal.
yeah,
I
yeah, because they're like, this guy fucked me, or
I think it's
so
like,
they
hey,
just have it in their
if
head.
if they're not going to pay me, well, guess what? I'm if I even get a halfway decent offer from their biggest competitor, I'm going there.
Uh-huh. Just like the Eagles and
Yeah,
Saquon last
yeah.
year. So yeah, that's something I'm always interested in, man. It's just I feel like you see guys stay in the same division a lot. With Sam Darnold, he's kind of the biggest domino to fall in the quarterback market. Him and Rodgers, I guess. Um, with Darnold, man, I kind of think it could be one of the New York teams. I think the Jets or the Giants. Now he's got history with the Jets. Did not go good. They hired a defensive coach, Aaron Glenn. I don't think that would be a good move for the Jets. Um, and you also got the Steelers and the Seahawks could make some sense here.
It's fascinating to me that NFL insider, paid NFL insider Ian Rappaport sends out this tweet that is basically, you know, Seahawks now turn their attention to Sam Darnold, which means Vikings, now that Darnold is likely out, now Vikings turn their attention to Daniel Jones. And
Mm.
then, Rap Sheet also mentions Rodgers lurks considering the Giants, and Dark
Yep.
Horse has the Vikings, and then Steelers sitting there looking at Justin Fields and maybe even potential Russell.
Yeah.
So
It's there's a lot of moving parts. Kind of the first thing to fall was that Geno Smith trade the other day. But yeah, with Darnold, you mentioned Seattle. That's who I'm going with. I think he's going to be a
yeah,
Seahawk.
yeah, that's a good
I
fit.
think I think they had to have known they're getting him to move off of Geno like they did. That's kind of my theory.
And I think
So
Darnold has been burned enough that he sits there and says, "There's no way in hell you're going to get me to walk into a team that I know is going to screw me up." He's like, I
yeah,
just sat through Carolina and New York Jets, and it almost ruined his career. And he gets put with the right coach, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in the playoffs. So I think he's going to be very selective, and
hmm
I think Seahawks were like one of the teams on his radar. And I think Seahawks don't make that move unless they know that they have something with Darnold. My guess is
Yeah.
that's already done, and we're going to happen
Yeah.
early. It's going to happen early on, Monday as soon as things are allowed to be announced. I bet you that one's already in the
Hmm.
books.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right on the money. And with Rodgers, I think he's going to stay in New York. I think the Giants are going to go after him. I think he's going to be a New York Giant. And I remember him and Eli back in the day, Packers Giants. They had some classic
Mm,
matchups in the playoffs. And so I think the Giants fans will be super excited if they can get A-Rod
yeah.
to come in. And they got some pieces, man. They do. We're gonna talk about NFC East, some team needs. So we'll hit the Giants here in a second, but offensive line for sure. But they got some pieces. They, as miserable as they were, as much as I like to make fun of their fucking hard knocks, um, off-season thing from last year. I mean, that was just the gift that kept on giving, just pure comedy. And I miss Lombardi, bro. I miss hearing Lombardi just rip them. But yeah, with Rodgers, I think the Giants could be the landing spot.
I can definitely see that. It feels right.
Uh-huh. And he likes New York, so I think he's gonna stay there if they offer him a decent
Should
contract.
be a great pairing, I think, with Malik Neighbors.
Oh yeah, that would be big. Get him a competent
Yeah.
quarterback. He Neighbors would probably be like a top 5 receiver in fantasy at least if that happens.
They've got a good defensive line there in Giants. They they probably could use another wide receiver.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got that on the team needs for them. Another top free agent, Drew. Going to the defensive side now. This Milton guy I
Yeah.
mentioned on the
Yeah.
Eagles. I kind of think the Chargers. I already talked about it, so we'll keep it moving. But I think the Chargers for him. You got Josh Sweat, another Eagle. That's an edge rusher, going to be a free agent. The Cardinals. We mentioned their cap space. We mentioned their need for a pass rushing threat on the edge. I think Josh Sweat is going to be a Cardinal.
I could see that.
And for the Bears, they got they got some needs up front on their offensive line. One of the bigger offensive line guys we got this Dahlman guy. Where did I forget where he comes from, but I think the Bears could be looking at him. We mentioned Chris Godwin a little bit. I think he's going to be really sought after. I think the Patriots are definitely going to be involved. And, I think, but something tells me, Drew, just the winning history with, he's been through the wars with Tampa. I think if they offer him a decent contract, he's going to re-sign in Tampa and play with Baker, or at least I hope.
Yeah, I would hate to see. It seems like things are kind of trending down for the Bucks with they lost that offensive coordinator they had. It would really it would
Yeah.
really be tough to see then Godwin leave too.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm holding out hope, man. Him and Baker and Evans together and the Otten, that tight end, those running backs, and that really good offensive line. I'd love to see Chris Godwin come back, but he's going to be injured for a lot of the year, so we'll see what kind of contract. It'll be interesting to see what kind of contract he
Maybe
gets.
even don't uh throw out the Jags as a potential landing spot for Godwin. They just cut
Yeah, I've
Kirk.
heard that. Oh, they did.
Yeah, they cut
I
Christian
didn't see
Kirk,
that.
and
They overpaid for him
they did.
so much 2 years ago. I mean, what a disaster. That's why the Jags, they are just not run like a real winning operation,
I I like I like Liam Cohen. I want to see him go in there and do something.
Yeah, hopefully he can get Trevor Lawrence headed in the right
Yeah.
direction. Um, a defensive guy, I think this we'll talk about some defensive backs here, Drew. Javon Holland, formerly of the Dolphins.
Mm.
Really like him. I think this could be one of those intra-division signings I was talking about. I think the Jets for
Hmm.
him. They got Aaron Glenn, former defensive back. He's going to want to come in, make a splash, and I think Javon Holland's the best defensive back on the free agency
Hmm.
board.
I can see that.
I've always liked him. He's just this long, rangy safety that just he's really good.
Yeah.
Um, and it Drew, really the theme for this free agency class is it's deep at cornerback,
Really?
really deep. Yeah. And I think the best one available is going to be DJ Reed. He was with the Jets, and I said DJ Reed, I guess, was quoted after the season. He said, "I'm ready for free agency, bro. I'm ready to see what's next for me."
Oh man.
So he's
Yeah.
gone. He's out of there. Um, the Vikings have been speculated, but they might be a little too pricey. Um, Maybe the Commanders. Um, but I'm gonna go with the Packers for him. I think the Packers will get a nice little upgrade in that secondary, and they need it. Jair Alexander, he's mega talented, but he's always injured, and they had some trouble covering these top receivers in the NFC last year, especially in that division with Jefferson, all the guys, the Sun God at Detroit, and all the guys the Bears have. They need to address that secondary in Green Bay. So that's who I'm going with for DJ Reed, but he's going to be a sought after
I mean,
guy for
I'm
sure.
looking at all of your top five teams in cap space: the Pats, Commanders, Raiders,
Uh huh.
Chargers, Cardinals. I could see any one of them going after DJ Reed. That's
Uh
he's
huh.
going to get a payday. Good for him.
Yeah, he deserves it. He's a
Yeah.
dog. I'm ready for free agency, bro. I'm ready to see what's next for me.
That's hilarious. You hate to see that
All
if you're
right.
a Jets fan.
Yeah, but they're probably thinking, I'm ready to switch teams, bro. I'm ready to see what's next for me. This poor Jet fan.
God.
All right, let's keep it moving. I want to hit a division each pod we do before the draft, just kind of quickly going over the team needs and kind of we can kind of project what kind of players these guys are going to be looking for, both free agency and the draft. So we're going to start with the defending champs, the Eagles. I really think they need another edge rusher, Drew. Um, as loaded as you might think they are, Sweat's going to be gone. Bryce Huff really underperformed for them last year. And Brandon Graham, I mean, he could retire any day. He's so
Wow.
old.
I
So
forgot about him.
I think, yeah, I think the Eagles need to address edge rusher either in the draft or free agency. And Howie Roseman, he's as sharp as it gets. I'm sure they'll find some good guys in there.
God, I
Um,
hate the idea of
and
them adding to their stacked team.
and they re-signed Bond at linebacker. That was big for that defense. And um, I do think they might need one more cornerback. They got rid of Slay, but they got Quinyon Mitchell and the white kid.
The
Can't think of
Gene.
his name right now. DeJean, yep. So they're going to be solid there. They'll probably add another corner. They'll probably add another edge rusher. And I think offensively, Drew, I mean, they need a wide receiver three. They, they just don't really have that. They got Devontae Smith, and they got AJ Brown and good tight end and Goddard. But I think they could add a third receiver. That might be something they look at in the draft. Try and get a younger guy that can develop for them.
Yeah, whoever it is going to need to be pretty unselfish.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
lot of
because
mouths.
and who knows, they may not even. You're probably right. They probably don't even really need one, but their team is so loaded. That's just kind of one of the few spots I could see them kind of focusing on.
Are they retaining
Um,
Goddard? Is he a free agent?
I don't think he is. I'm pretty sure he's
Okay,
back.
because he's making top money. and Devontae and AJ Brown are both paid, and they're really not much
Uh
of a
huh.
passing offense anymore. I mean, they run the ball a whole lot.
Uh huh. Yeah, that's a good point for sure. Moving on to Washington. Um, in the NFC Championship just a year ago, edge rusher. Same with the Eagles. I think they need an edge rusher. Dan Quinn, he schemes up pressures pretty well, but they need a real guy that can be a disruptor off the edge. You know, they need a guy that they can just cut loose on passing situations and just be a disruptor.
I mean,
So that's an area.
that's Joey Bosa
Yeah, I could see that. I think that'd be a really good move for them. Um, Offensive tackle, Drew. They're gonna have to protect the franchise. Jaden Daniels and their left tackle, Cornelius Lucas, is a free agent. So draft or free agency, that's a big area of need for
fuck
them. And and number two wide receiver outside of Scary Terry, I think they like that McCaffrey guy, Christian McCaffrey's brother, but they need another receiver or two for sure. De'Ami Brown, I guess, was that guy for them last year, but I think they can
for
upgrade.
sure.
And cornerback. Marcus Lattimore sucked when he came over last year. He just was not very good. And they got this Mike Sanders still kid who's really good, but he's a slot corner. I think they're going to need to add another outside corner.
Well,
And then,
it,
yeah,
there
go ahead.
there's it sounds like there's plenty that they can add there. I think I think
Hmm.
Bosa is the guy that you really target if you're Commanders. And you know, wide receiver, you can figure that out. Um,
Right.
where I guess they're picking late, so they're going to have to
Yeah.
use their resources wisely. Left tackle is a tough market this year, so good.
Oh, yeah. You know it. Being a Chiefs fan, you know that.
I say to Commanders fans, best of luck to you. Actually, not. We're gonna steal whoever you want to get.
Yeah. Chiefs and Commanders, they'll probably be looking to move up if they can to get a
Well,
tackle.
that tells me
Or,
I think Chiefs would probably be looking to jump the Commanders. It's on the
uh
Commanders
huh.
to bid against themselves and move up, but I could see Chiefs being one that lurks around and moves ahead of them.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you're right about that for sure. But yeah, that's the Commanders, the Cowboys. I mean, where do I even start with what they need? They need a head coach. They need a quarterback. They need a running back. They need a wide receiver two, a wide receiver three. They need O line. They need defensive tackle. They need linebacker. I mean, that's yeah, pretty much. They need a reset. They need a whole new team.
Jay, you don't have any faith in Rico Dowdle, Cavante Turpin?
No, I don't. I have faith that Turpin's a really good special teams player, but you know, are you gonna bank on getting a kick return touchdown to win the
He
game?
just needs the opportunity at wide receiver.
He is electric. I'll give him that. Get him the
Yeah.
ball, but is Schottenheimer gonna be able to create situations for him to get the ball in space? Doubtful.
But man,
Is Schottenheimer
Rico
gonna turn Dak Prescott into not the worst contract in the league? Doubtful.
Rico Dowdle was the fantasy football league winner for some people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He did show some good things. But I think, they're so stupid. They'll probably draft Ginty with their first round pick, even though they don't really need. Dowdle is
Yeah.
serviceable, but oh, my dad says he's a free agent.
Oh,
Dowdle is. So yeah, he may not even be
Yeah.
back.
I'm just
But
you
wide
know, nothing.
receiver two, wide receiver three, they probably won't touch that because they gave up a fourth round pick for that Mingo,
Oh,
and so they're probably banking on him to step up next year. And he sucks.
I forgot about that. The the high the highest traded star at the deadline. Bingo.
Yeah, just ridiculous. The offensive line needs work. I mean, Terrence Steele was a joke last year at right tackle. I mean, just it's just, and the defensive tackle is probably the biggest need. Um, their run defense was just a joke last year. I mean, they just got bullied every game. They got to get a good defensive tackle.
Hey, maybe Trey
Um,
Lance can pull him out of it.
he can't even beat out Cooper Rush. I mean, it's just awful. The linebacker Eric Kendricks is way too important for them. I love Demarion Overshown, but he's probably going to be on IR to start the year. He got injured late last year, so it's just a
Yeah,
mess. It's a mess in Dallas, man. All we got is the Stars and
yeah.
Rangers because the Mavs and Cowboys are just so dysfunctional.
Well, sorry to hear that, Jay. I mean, what are you thinking now? Like as of now, you didn't even mention them in the top five most cap. So, but they weren't in the
Yeah,
bottom
let's
three.
go look at that real quick. Let's look at their cap space. I'm sure it's not very much because of Dak. Yeah, I mean they're in the red.
Oh,
They have the seventh least cap space. I mean, it, my dad says they've been freeing up cap space, but when you're paying Dak 60 million, you're paying CD, and you're fixing to pay Micah. What are you gonna do? They don't have much. They gotta pay Parsons, man, and just hope the stars can align with Dak, CD, and Micah. I mean, that's the big three for the Cowboys, and
Jay, that's a tough road ahead
just
for them.
Dak. Yeah, it's not good.
They're going to have to really nail the draft.
Yeah, and they do draft pretty well. That's the one thing I give them credit over the years. They do draft pretty well. Will McClay, he's kind of the de facto GM. At least he's really good at drafting guys, but we'll see, man. They need a really good draft to get out of this hole that they're in. Um, but that's the beauty of the NFL, man. You're just one good draft away. You're just one good quarterback away, and I think they could look at a late round quarterback, to sit for a couple years. But yeah, that's enough on the Cowboys for me. Let's go to the Giants. Um, their team they need a GM. They need a real GM. That Shane guy sucks. I mean, I just bring it up every time I talk about the Giants. Just the off-season hard knocks. He doesn't know what he's doing. So they need a new GM. They need a new quarterback. Outside of Andrew Thomas, they need a completely new offensive line. They need a wide receiver too to kind of complement Neighbors. And cornerback, Drew, that's probably their biggest area need, the Giants. They allowed the highest passer rating against them in 2024 in the league. So, cornerback, they couldn't cover anything last year. And they need a safety,
Mm.
so they got a lot of work to do, but I do like their defensive line a lot. I like their left tackle, Thomas, and I like Neighbors a lot.
The running back
Um,
is a lot of fun too.
the baby bell cow.
No,
Isn't that your
no,
guy?
he Singletary. Singletary fell off. It was a rookie that came in second half.
Oh yeah, Tracy.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy. He was
Yeah, yeah, he showed some
he was a
things.
lot of fun. He was kind of. showed off as his own little miniature Saquon, if I could say so
Uh
myself. I
huh.
mean, he was a ball catcher out of there. He was a volume guy. Really could rip off some big plays, either passing or rushing. There, my
Yeah,
biggest fear,
he had some
my
juice.
biggest fear for the Giants is that they go after Aaron Rodgers, who is pretty much immobile these days. I mean, he's a statue in the backfield, Jay. And if they don't shore up that offensive line quickly, what are they going to do? To They're going to try and sign Rodgers and roll with that. I mean, blitz.
Just hope he's a band aid for
They're going to
everything.
get they're going to get blitzed on every single play, and Aaron Rodgers won't be able to deal with it. It'll be the Jets all over again.
Yeah, you're right.
They they've got some problems if that's what their offseason plan is basically do Jets 2.0, no offensive line, stud young receiver and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you're so right. It really is. Shit. And they have a good defensive line like the Jets
Yeah.
do. It's just kind of the perfect. I would be kind of shocked if Rodgers isn't a Giant this time next week.
it,
I think it's
it's
happening.
Jets 2.0 without the great defensive backs.
Yeah, they don't have a sauce. Oh man, yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how the Giants offseason plays out. Um, but yeah, let's transition now that we kind of talk about team needs, kind of getting into a little draft talk. Um, I want to hit a position group, kind of like we did last week. We did offensive line. This week, I want to go to the defensive line. Um, and I'm not, there is a lot. I got 15 prospects here, Drew, but I wanted to hit on guys that are inside of Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects.
Perfect.
Just some quick notes, and I got some NFL comps, some current players that I think they kind of remind me of. So we'll start with the top edge rusher. I think he's the best prospect in this draft, Abdul Carter from Penn State. And his comp is Micah
Mm.
Parsons. Same school, same number, both number 11. He just reminds me of him. He's got great bend and explosive first step. So I think Abdul Carter is my number one prospect in
Now,
this draft.
does this have sort of a big board where they're ranked, like where they're likely to go?
No, that's something I should have done to kind of see the range, but I've kind of got a feel for most of these guys where they could
Where is he,
go.
like a top
It's
10?
going in, yeah, it's going in order to of kind of where the I mean it's how Daniel Jeremiah ranked them.
Is he a
So
top
the
10 kind of
seventh
guy?
guy, Abdul,
Okay.
yeah. I mean I wouldn't be shocked. I guess you kind of have to take Cam Ward number one. I think that's kind of the momentum and what's going to happen with the Titans. But man, if I was picking one, I would seriously consider Abdul Carter. Just I'm not in love with this quarterback class, and I think he's just. I would be shocked if he was a
Hmm.
bust. I mean, he's going to be an All-Pro kind of guy, edge rusher. So yeah, I think he's going to go within the top three or four picks at
Gotcha.
least. Next guy, Mason Graham out of Michigan. His comp is Christian Wilkins on the Raiders right now. I mean Mason or yeah, Mason Graham, he's pretty much a flawless prospect, Drew. Explosive first step, relentless motor, Harbaugh recruited him to Michigan. Those Michigan guys, especially this group that's come out the last couple years. They're just high character guys. So I really like Mason Graham. He'll probably go top 10-ish, I want to say. Um, Moving on to Jalen
Real quick
Walker out
on
of Georgia.
Mason Graham,
Yeah, yeah, hop in whenever you got anything.
I wonder if the Chargers don't try and trade up.
Yeah, with the Harbaugh connection.
I mean, they can't be too far down there in terms, what are they picking at? Probably 20-ish. What's 10 spots if Mason Graham kind of falls a little bit to
Yeah.
the 10ish area? That might be striking distance.
Yeah, that's a great point. And even we were mentioning earlier about them looking at defensive tackles and free
Oh, it'd be
agency.
perfect for them.
If they miss out on one of their guys, I think Mason Graham could definitely be in play for them. Jalen Walker out of Georgia, Drew. His comp is Hassan Reddick. He's a little bit undersized but explosive. He's a versatile player. He actually won the Buckus Award for best linebacker, and so he's not like a true defensive lineman, but he's going to be used as a pass rusher in pass rushing situations. So a very interesting prospect. Another guy out of Georgia, Michael Williams. His comp, Daniil Hunter of the
Mm,
Texans. 6'5",
mm.
265, elite physical tools, shines as a run defender, but he's still pretty raw as a pass rusher. So we'll see if he can where he goes, if he can get developed in that pass rushing
Now, Jay,
stuff.
both of these
He's got
guys
all the
are
tools.
these guys both? What do you think? Maybe 15ish area, or are we thinking 20 may fall?
Yeah, let me pull up something here and I'll see I can probably pull something up that'll show us real quick.
Because look, I mean, the first
Just
thing that comes to my mind in this is exactly what you said. The Eagles, they really don't have a lot of needs except, like you're saying, getting one defensive lineman, and they're the perfect prototype for a Georgia defensive lineman. I mean, let's be honest. They're
uh-huh.
they're running with that strategy, and it just won them a Super Bowl. Like, if one of these guys could drop to the 20s, that seems like a perfect striking distance for them.
Yeah, you're right about that. Jalen Walker, where is this guy? I'm not seeing him. I don't know. Let me. I know I can find something. There's got to be something I can. Just let me look up Jalen Walker draft projection. He's projected to be a first rounder. Has multiple mock drafts having between 8th and 18th
Mm.
pick. And then yeah, the other guy out of Georgia, Michael Williams. I was talking about him. He's got the elite physical tools. Kind of reminds people of Daniil Hunter of the Texans. Let's see what his draft projection is. Two guys out of Georgia. Um, kind of like he's been mocked to the Falcons at 15th. Michael Williams.
Mm.
This guy up next is Mike Green out of Marshall. Let's look at his draft projection. Um, another first round guy. Um, out of Marshall. His comp is Brian Burns. He led FBS with 15 sacks last year. Just a really twitched up first step. He needs to improve as a run defender, but he's as explosive as an edge rusher as there is in this draft. Mike Green. And then we got a local kid, Drew, for you, a Tennessee guy, James Pierce. Now, James Pierce coming into the year was like a top five projected kind of draft guy, but SEC teams this year they game planned him a lot, and they kind of his production wasn't as good as everybody thought it was going to be. His comp is Josh
Mm.
Sweat. We were talking about him a little bit with the free agency stuff. He's got elite bend off the edge. Needs to work on his technique, but he doesn't bring he just doesn't bring much to the table as a run defender. So I think that's kind of why his stock has fallen throughout this year. But I still think he'll be a guy that's in the 20s probably to get drafted. Um, and it's interesting, man, with draft season, see these guys, they fall and some guys rise for whatever
Yeah.
reason. I mean, the combine, people really digging in on the tape. I remember Calvin Thibodeau, or what's the guy's first name?
Cave
Not
on,
Cal
cave on.
Thibodeau, Kayvon Thibodeau of the Giants, man. Everybody thought he was going one or two that whole draft time. Then he went like eighth or ninth or 10th even to the Giants. And so you'll just see guys, I mean, especially on if you I remember Thibodeau, his knock was people he just wasn't showing effort on tape, so his stock really
I
kind of
remember that.
dropped off. Uh-huh. Derek Harmon of Oregon. His comp is Javon Hargrave, inside guy, led the nation with 55 quarterback pressures last year. He's got an explosive get off, but he's going to need to refine his pass rush moves. Doesn't play with great leverage. He's got to work on that. One guy I really like, Drew. Let's see where he's predict. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. I want to see where he's
So
projected.
actually, let me give it to you because that's kind of what I've been doing here while you've been talking. Write
Okay,
down
nice.
and basically what I've used these in the past and I've found them very helpful. Uh, Pro Football Focus, they have a little mock draft simulator, and
Oh
what you
yeah.
can do is put yourself in as the Tennessee Titans first pick, and then just see who all's
Uh-huh.
available. And it says the average ADP of where actual real people that pay for PFF subscriptions and study this stuff, where they're actually taking them in their own mock drafts. So you can kind of get a good average of everybody.
Yeah, I love that.
And
I love that. Where did they have him? Shamar
Shamar
Stewart.
Stewart is at 22.
Yeah, that feels right for him. And
So
this guy's a specimen,
you
Drew.
have even Jalen Walker is at 26.6.
Mm. Yeah, so Jeremiah's higher on him than 26
Yeah.
because he's got him as his third ranked defensive lineman overall. Where do they have James Pierce real quick?
James Pierce,
Like 20?
17.6.
Okay.
And actually, I might have said Jalen Walker wrong. Actually, where is Jalen Walker?
Yeah, I was having trouble finding him too. I don't know. He might be a
Mm,
linebacker. He might be listed as a linebacker, actually.
that might be it. I don't see him in here.
Yeah.
Um, Derek Harmon is 26.6.
Yeah, he's really good. Led the nation with quarterback pressures last year, so I think that would be a good pickup for
Mike
somebody.
Green, they have him as a 15.5.
Okay,
So let's see now.
mid first,
Michael Williams is at 20.8. So all of these guys that you're going over here,
first round
they're all
prospects.
first rounders.
Yep.
Now this looks like the perfect, you know, if I can group some of these guys together, let's say Abdul Carter and Mason Graham, they're going to be gone before pick 8, let's say.
Uh-huh.
And then all the rest of these guys, you can sit there and say, if it's Derek Harmon or Shaman Stewart or Michael Williams, Mike Green, James Pierce, see if one of them falls to 25, 26, somewhere in there. And then
Hmm.
boom, if you're the Eagles, you jump up there and grab them. If you're the Command,
Yep.
you jump up there and grab them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I definitely it's pretty deep defensive line class, so inevitably one of these guys we talk about are going to fall. And yeah, I think the Eagles and Commanders, like we were just talking about, that's kind of I didn't do this on purpose, but that's good that I think we covered the team needs for them because they do need defensive linemen like we're talking about. Was Shamar Stewart Drew? He said he was like in the 20s, 20.
Shamar's, yeah, 22.
I mean, he's one of my favorite prospects in the entire draft. He's a specimen.
So,
Rare athleticism for how big he is.
yeah. Now here's
He can chase down ball carriers. Excellent run defender. He's gonna need to work on his pass rushing skills, but he's my kind of guy.
here's where I'm looking at, Jay. You know, if I'm the Eagles, or not the Eagles, the Cardinals, and I'm sitting there picking at 16, am I going to try and go spend money on an older, injured Joey Bosa? Or am I going to sit there at pick 16 and say, look, I've got Mike Green, who is projected to be, around 15.5. I've got James Pierce that should be going right around that area.
Uh huh.
Michael Williams. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm sitting there and saying, I'm going to find my edge rusher in the draft there. There's a pocket of them right
Hmm.
there available.
Yep. And their Eagles are smart, so they'll see the writing on the wall with this stuff, and they're gonna get one of these guys. I
Yeah.
bet. Um, they just know what Howie Roseman knows what he's
Yeah.
doing. Kenneth Grant, just to keep moving, we got him out of Michigan. His comp, Dexter
Mm,
Lawrence. Just a brick wall in the run game. He's no slouch in pass rushing situations either. Got very powerful hands. Somebody's going to get them a good one with Kenneth Grant. Where do they have him projected?
19.2.
Yeah, that makes sense. Next guy, not sure how to say his last name, Donovan Izarok. I cannot say that. Izaroko, Ruko, something like that, man. But his comp is Josh Allen of the
Yeah.
Jaguars. Really long reach, 34.5-inch arm length. That's elite. He's going to be a problem off the edge. Now, run defense, he's a little undersized, but he's scrappy. I really like this guy. Um, I'll see where interested to see where he
Well,
lands.
this is an
Um,
interesting one for you on this because this happens every once in a while with PFF versus the public. Very, most of the
uh-huh.
time, PFF and the public think right along the same kind of lines. This is one of those ones where they're kind of way off. So
Oh, really? That's interesting.
PFF has Donovan Ezuraku. They rank him as the 16th best prospect in the draft, but the public
Huh.
is drafting him at 29.5.
Huh. Yeah, and it's I didn't write down where he went to
Boston
college, but he
College.
went some yeah, Boston College, that's right. So he's just not as heralded by the public, I think. But yeah, he'll be interesting. I really like him a lot. Walter Nolan next up. We got Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. His comp, Quinnen Williams of the Jets.
Mm,
And this guy, Drew, he was the former #1 recruit in his high school class. Elite first step, quickness, strong hands, all the stuff you want. Plays with a low center of gravity, but he's pretty raw. He doesn't have like, these pass rushers, they all have like their own moves and stuff. He just doesn't have he doesn't have like an array of pass rush moves. He's been able to win on just his raw skills.
beautiful.
So I think that's yeah, where did they have him going?
21.6, Jay.
Yeah, that feels right for him. Next, Drew, we got Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. His comp, Justin Matabuke of the Ravens. Um, he's a really disruptive three tech guy, inside defensive tackle, elite first step, violent hands. Needs to play at better pad level though, and his pass rush moves need to improve. Joshua Farmer. Landon Jackson. We only got three more. Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. His comp is interesting. And I'm not going to take credit for these comps, Drew. I didn't come up with them out of thin air. I use Grok for this,
Nice.
dude.
Love it.
I mean, yeah, Grok really helped me with this segment we're doing. I would just type in Landon Jackson NFL current NFL comp and brief evaluation, and it gives me all this shit. It's
Love it.
incredible. It really is. It's such a good resource for podcasting and all this stuff. For him, they have Max Crosby of as his comp, and he's a white guy. Um, High effort, scheme versatile guy, great hand usage, physical run stopper. Not great twitch. And he isn't a fluid pass rusher, but he rushes he rushes a little bit like a robot. He's a little bit of a robot out there, but he's a guy that kind of caught my eye watching Arkansas this year. He's pretty good. Where do they have him
So
going?
Landon Jackson is at 42.7.
Yeah, so he's gonna be a second round guy, I think, but just kind of he's not the most smooth athlete, but I think he could come in and he could be a Max Crosby type of guy if he gets the right coach to develop him and
Well, Jay,
he
and here's an interesting one for you. I was having a tough time finding Joshua Farmer, and it's because really he's far down on the list with PFF and public rankings. Um,
oh
so Daniel
yeah, so
Jeremiah,
Daniel Jeremiah,
yeah, he's sticking
yeah,
his neck out for Joshua Farmer, and your BK
uh-huh,
comp
love
comp there.
that.
But Joshua Farmer, he's ranked 77 by PFF, and the public is drafting him at 70.9. So the public is
Mm,
a little bit better than PFF is on him, but Daniel Jeremiah is
right.
even way better than what the public is on him.
Yeah, that's a cool little nugget right there. Love it. Two more guys, Drew. Darius Alexander out of Toledo. He carries his weight well. He's a big boy, 6th-year senior, can collapse the pocket, can clog run lanes with his elite length. He ran a 4.95
Wow.
40. That was big for him at his size. 30-inch vert and 400 pound bench press. I mean, he was featured in Bruce Feldman's Freak List. He does every year, and he just highlights all these freaks around college football. And Darius Alexander was one of them this year. Gonna need to work on his pass rushing moves, but he's a really intriguing guy at his size. 6th-year senior. He's gonna be ready to come in and be an impact guy right away.
Jay, I can't help but say that that's just walk right into the Chiefs organization there, man.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Eagles.
Where do they have him
Well,
going?
PFF ranks him as 23, and the public is drafting him at 33.9.
Yeah, he could be um somebody that they look at for sure. I want to say his comp was Chris Jones,
Ooh,
actually. I think that's what it was. I didn't write it down for whatever reason, but I think I remember that earlier today. There was one guy that was Chris Jones comp, and I think it's Darius
I love
Alexander
that.
out of Toledo. So we'll see. And then last guy, Drew, I'm not sure where he is, but I was watching the big boys run last week at the combine. This all name team guy, I had to throw him in. Zeke Biggers. Just great. And I mean, he lives up to his name. He's an imposing guy, just big. His comp is Jeffrey Simmons of the
Mm.
Titans. Immovable presence. Stout run defender, just an anchor in the run game, and pretty raw as a pass rusher. But I think he's an interesting guy for sure. Zeke
I'm still
Biggers.
trying to find him here. I don't even see him in here, Jay.
I think he's out of Georgia Tech. But
Oh, there he
yeah,
is.
uh,
Wow, wait, they have him far down.
like fourth or fifth round.
No. Jay, he's ranked as the 201st prospect by PFF, and he's being
Dang,
drafted at 194.
that's crazy. I think someone's gonna get a steal with him. Honestly,
That's crazy.
um, yeah, just a big ass dude, bigger, just
Uh-oh.
all name team right
Jay, we've
there.
got some couple of breaking news that's happened while we're on the pod. Bills and Josh
Oh,
Allen
breaking
agreed
news.
to a record-setting 6-year, $330 million contract. And then,
So Dak is not the highest paid player
nope.
anymore.
And now, Jay, I'm going to just say this and don't look at any news or anything. I want you to give me your prediction. Seahawks are sending wide receiver DK Metcalf to the blank. Nope.
Patriots. Uh,
Nope.
Chargers. Where's he
He's
going?
going to Pittsburgh.
Oh wow. Him and why am I blanking on him and
Yeah.
Pickens? That's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome. If they can get a quarterback, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna go back with Russell because him and DK together in Seattle.
That that is a little bit exciting to me. I kind of I kind of see the vision they're doing up there.
It it kind of fantasy wise though, I don't really like it for Pickens.
Yeah. Well, Pickens, I think he had his opportunity last year.
That will be fun though, man. DK and
Yeah,
Pickens, just two alpha. They're kind of similar
they
guys.
are.
That, that'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I think it's Russell Wilson's team with that move.
So, really interesting stuff here with the defensive line, Jay. I mean, there is a lot of first round talent there.
Oh yeah, this is a great defensive line class for sure. And the Eagles, they're gonna pick up one of these studs, I bet, in the first round.
Looking at Donovan Ezuraku and Darius Alexander. Those guys, I think Chiefs and Eagles are kind of going to be vying for them.
Uh-huh. I agree. So yeah, that was a fun little class right there to break down, and I think that's what we'll do. We'll keep it to these like first, second round type prospects. The quarterbacks, though, we might hit on like all the quarterbacks just because it'd be fun to talk about them. But yeah, do you have a position group you'd want to hit next week for this? I don't really care.
Well, I'd like to hit. I don't know anything about the wide receivers. Let's hit them.
Okay, yeah, that'll be good. There's a couple studs I think that'll get taken high for sure, but yeah, that'll be a good one, man. Before we get out of here, we got to do our finder and our pirate and who's walking the plate segment. I'll let you lead us off, Drew. Who caught your eye this week? Any kind of story or anything going on? Could be sports related or not, man. Who found their inner pirate for you this week?
Man, this is a good one. You know, I actually the one that I'm just gonna say just because it's close to me is I think Marquise Brown. Jay,
Hollywood,
I think he's in
baby.
a great position. I like the move that he did, kind of coming back on the cheap to Kansas City. Um,
Uh-huh.
that's exactly the move I like to see from him. I know he could have gone out and tested free agency, and he probably could have gotten 20 million somewhere or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But he's going to stay with Kansas City, and I think that's going to be great news for him. I think he's going to put up some good stats this year and have himself a
Hmm.
payday next year.
Yeah, I agree. He just fits well with that offense. They need a deep threat like him to kind of open things up, and he showed a little bit of flashes. when he came back from the injury this year, but getting a full healthy season, having a training camp, having a full off season with Mahomes, I'm super interested to see how Hollywood kind of finds his inner pirate this year in Kansas City. So that was a good call.
Can I add one more also?
Yeah, go
I want to
for it.
say also Tom Brady because
Oh yeah,
I called him
it's
out.
just
I called him out the other week that it was a big mistake him going and meeting with Kirk Cousins. That was going to lead to a chain of events where the owners kind of are like, "Hey, we need to really restrict this guy's access around the league. He can't be doing this." And I still think
uh-huh.
that may happen, but I think he has kicked that Raiders organization into gear. I love some of the moves they've made. Re-signing Crosby, trading for Geno. They're headed in the right direction there in LA. Unfortunately, I hate to say it because they're in our division, but they
We're getting some listeners in here, baby. I
they
love it.
they impressed me, Jay.
Uh,
The the
yeah,
Raiders did.
yeah, I like what they're doing, man. Kind of a closet Raiders fan I am. I like the Pete Carroll hire. You know, I like Geno. You know, I'm a Geno guy. So I hope they're competitive, man. Tom Brady, he really is trying to go in there and trying to shift the culture in a way. So yeah, that's a good call. For me, Drew, who found their inner pirate for me, I got to keep it to my local, my hometown, where I grew up, where I'm an alumni, the Okarchi Warriors, baby. 32 and 0, Drew. They won the state championship last night, back to back, 32 and 0, best team in Class A history. I mean, they really are. They're on a 42 game
Holy
winning
crap.
streak right now.
Wow.
It's awesome, dude. Like my best friend from Oklahoma, who he was in my class, and we were neighbors. Like like I think of you as a brother, Drew, but this guy's like a real brother to me. Been an assistant coach on the team the last couple years, so it's really cool to kind of have him be a part of it too, man.
Yeah.
So that yeah, shout out to the Warriors, baby.
So
Love it.
tell me who next? Who's walking the plank for you this week?
Um, I'm I'm going a little baseball action here on walking the plank. You know, we got our fantasy draft next Sunday, Drew. About 6 o'clock Central, I think.
Okay.
So it's good to kind of get some baseball in your head. And I gotta for walking the plank, I gotta go with Garrett Cole. And he looks like he's gonna have to have Tommy John. I mean, we already got pitchers going down with these catastrophic elbow injuries, and I guess I mean, he threw 12 pitches and he's lost for the year in all likelihood. That's just the nature of baseball and pitching, man. It's such a fickle thing. You already see these pitchers getting injured in spring training, so that really sucks. You know, when the Yankees, when you go to the World Series like they did this past year, it's just so difficult to stay healthy that next year, especially with pitchers. So pitching injuries, Garrett Cole, they're walking the plank for me. Who? What about you? Who's walking the plank for you?
Who is the quarterback who had an awful combine?
I'm not sure.
You haven't heard of that?
I haven't digged in on the quarterback combine really because none of the top guys performed. I know Jackson Dart, his stock went up. Maybe Quinn Ewers, Riley Leonard.
I'll say this.
Um,
Here's mine. Kyle Shanahan.
ooh, I
Yeah,
like that.
I think Kyle Shanahan is going to run himself into a Andy Reid type of situation in 49ers. You know, when Andy everyone knew Andy was a great head coach. They knew he was great.
Hmm.
The big thing was it was just can you get us over the hump? And when you've had this much heartbreak as a team, you start to just need a scapegoat. And I think they're going
Yeah.
to look at Kyle Shanahan here. I think 49ers are setting up to have a disappointing year. And
Yeah, and we mentioned their cap situation earlier, man. It's you know fixing to pay Purdy all that money. It's your Kyle Shanahan's really gonna have to dig deep and let his coaching ability kind of over because they don't have the advantage of Purdy on a cheap contract anymore. So he's gonna have to be even better of a coach. And yeah, I think you're right. We could get to a point where just him moving teams makes sense, like kind of like Andy Reid had
I
to.
mean, look,
But I still,
I
yeah,
could
go ahead.
see even a team approaching them at some point with some Godfather offer to trade for
Uh huh.
Or Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, that's always on the table for
But
sure.
I do think his days in
The Bears were kind of the Bears were kind of rumored to do
yeah.
that um, during this past coaching carousel. So yeah, the Niners, they're going to be an interesting team to kind of see how it shakes out. They're so talented, but with Purdy fixing to get paid, I mean, yeah, my dad thinks it's a mistake to pay him.
Yeah, I think so
I
too.
like Brock. I like Brock
I would have
Purdy,
liked to
but
see him take a big step forward this year.
yeah.
He didn't. I mean,
Well,
you can't.
all right,
Yeah.
Drew. Oh, sorry, not to cut
Well,
you off.
I just think, what are you doing if you're like, if you lock yourself into paying some league average guy big money, like Daniel Jones, Derek Carr, some of these, you're just kind of cementing yourself in mediocrity there.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'd like to see them take more stabs at quarterback. They found Brock Purdy. They liked who they had in
Uh-huh.
Darnold. I'd like to see them keep it refreshing. Don't pay $50 million for an average quarterback.
Yeah. I know Purdy though, he's a big intangibles guy. Like I know all those guys really respect him and they love playing hard for Brock Purdy. So you got to consider that with the quarterback as well. And I know he didn't look great a lot of last year, but if I'm in the Niners position, I'm still paying him. But that can be something we kind of just disagree
Yeah.
about. Um, and we'll see how it plays out for him. But yeah, Drew, last thing before I let you go, we have to do a little Jimmy John's corner today because the Friday, man, the servers shut down. Has that ever happened when you worked there?
Yeah, where you just take orders on the phone.
They couldn't even do
Uh,
that, man. Like, so I couldn't do any deliveries for like the first couple hours of my shift. And I've been talking to my manager about it. I still haven't been paid. There's when you worked there, did they do the thing where they loaded your tip money on the debit card every day?
no.
See, that's what they're doing for me at our store. And I don't know if it's worth it, man. Like so Friday I only made like twenty
That's
dollars because the servers were shut down for half of my shift. Yeah, so I don't know if it's worth it. Like I can go make $40 doing DoorDash, 40 to 50 a
that was the
day.
best part about working
So,
there was I walked away with cash every day. Yeah,
oh
that should
really?
be, I think, most all Jimmy Johns. That's a weird system I've never heard of.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna quit or anything, but I'm gonna see like what my legit first paycheck is like, and then I'll make a decision if it's worth it or not. Because man, I'm working 10-hour shifts for med speed, and I'm just like yesterday, I just crashed, dude. I was so tired all day, just working 70 hours
Yeah,
a week,
wow.
you know. But so I don't know if but at the same time, the like last week is probably be the toughest it'll be for me just because I'm still learning the Jimmy John's job, and I can already feel it starting to be really easy, and that applies to my full-time job as well, med speed. So I can do it. I do wish I get paid a little bit more, so I wouldn't have to keep two jobs, but it is what it is. It'll be it'll be worth it if I can get to my savings goal, by end of
Yeah.
August. That's it'll be worth it. And then I can. But yeah, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about the Jimmy John's stuff. So like in a 4 hour shift, how much money would you get paid?
You know, I think usually I'd go there and leave like a 4 hour shift, maybe with like $60 plus
That's perfect.
the check that would come in. And the check
Yeah,
was
that would be perfect
the
for
check
me.
wasn't huge or anything, but yeah, I think $60 a day. And if I would work longer, I could get it up. But I liked to kind of hit it right there at the peak hours and then get out.
Uh-huh. Yeah, if I can make 60 bucks a day with it, it'd be perfect. My I I asked my manager to kind of ballpark me, and he said like 40 to $50 a day. So
Yeah.
it's not bad, but I do think I could make that doing DoorDash. So, but yeah, I just wanted to hear your opinion on that. And kind of, it's. And I wish I would get paid cash like you did. That'd be
I
awesome.
make I made more at the Jimmy John's in Chattanooga, where it was downtown and office buildings and running all around
Uh-huh.
downtown like that. I made more there than I did back in the suburbs in Kansas City.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and where I work is in Irving. It's like a business area. So like I'm here at all these businesses and it is pretty busy, but I would say from like so I work 11 to 3. From like 11 to like 1:32, it's pretty busy, but then like that last hour, I maybe have like one or two deliveries. So it's all right, man. I like it. I like the people I work with, but I don't know how long I'll stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, my advice on that is use Jimmy John's as like like a just go in there and hit the peak hours and get out. Whatever it
Uh-huh.
is you can make from the most peak hours. You don't want to be standing around there making no money for them or for yourself.
Right. Right. Right
Yeah,
on, brother. Well, all right, man. You got anything else before we wrap up?
that's
This was a meaty
it
podcast.
was.
Just free agency, salary cap. We had some breaking news. This was a great pod,
I wish
man.
you could
Ton of
see
fun.
this sheet that I have in front of me. It's got all the prospects names we went over, all the salary cap and everything. It's filled.
Love it. I love it, man. Yeah, draft season, it's the
Yeah.
best, dude. I can't wait for the draft to get here. And I think doing these little previews will it'll add more entertainment to the draft for us, kind of having a sense of these guys and what they're about and all that shit. So I can't get enough of it, man.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be seeing you here in about a month as well.
I know. I'm excited. It's gonna be a ton of fun. I got my room booked and everything, so
Awesome.
we'll be there April 12th, baby.
I'm
Love it.
looking forward to it, man.
All right, Drew. Go swing your sword this week.
All right. Hell yeah, Jay. Signing off.
All right. Peace, brother.